Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Females Thriving Over 30 podcast. Today, we have another very interesting guest with us. This is already like a few episodes that we've recorded in this new program, and I have to say, we're getting better. We're getting the hang of it. I don't know, Jasmine, how you have found the last few recordings, but I think we're getting the hang of it, right?
Oh yeah, I feel like all those little technical problems we were having at the beginning seem to be slowly getting ironed out. I say that, and then something might go horribly wrong now. So touch wood, that's not going to happen. But yeah, we're definitely in the swing of things now, especially with having two of us
Yes,
as well.
yes. So we're learning. I think we're doing better as we go, but please do not hold it against us if something doesn't go to plan. So today's guest is Adrienne Robinson. Adrienne is a 31 years old full-time nursery nurse, and she's also a pageant contestant who is competing in the Miss Beauty UK pageant in September. Um, Adrienne is currently working on bringing back her pageant platform that is called Fierce Foot Forward to empower and advocate for those who are neurodivergent, visually impaired, have mental health issues, and have been born prematurely and are navigating their adult life. So, just without further ado, welcome Adrienne to the podcast. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. Yourselves?
We're good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Sun is
good, thank you.
shining today. It's been amazing. Like summer is back almost. Well, spring. Let's say spring. Summer, not summer yet, but spring is finally here. I feel happy. I wake up in the mornings and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to conquer the world. I don't know about you girls.
Oh yeah, it makes such a difference. I love having the sunshine. It really changes my mood.
Yeah, same here. It just really lifts you up, I think, and just I want to get up and go.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, most of our listeners don't know you. So even though I did that little introduction at the beginning, we always prefer for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, because probably there's things that I don't know and I have not mentioned in the intro. So tell us, who is Adrienne?
Okay, so I'm 31. I'm a nursery nurse. I've worked with children for quite a long time. In my spare time, I walk my dog called Kemp. He doesn't live with me. He lives with my mum. He's a little border terrier, and he's 5 this year, so he's lots of fun. And then I like reading, so I read a lot of magazines. I have got into books, but I tend to just put them down and pick them up. But I'm more of a magazine person because I like the pictures, and obviously magazines are more relevant to like the week and stuff. Yeah, and it's just nice just to get updates on the news and what's going on in the world, and that sort of thing.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Saraya talked about your project, Fierce Foot Forward. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, so I set it up during lockdown, back in 2020, just as something to do, because we're all in the same boat. So I did like virtual coffee mornings, just to keep us all going and connected. Um, so then I did interviews, which kind of faded, mainly because things move on and I just didn't really know what else to do with it. So it was just all about just sort of talking to individuals on, what makes them feel confident and to be themselves and to kind of just put your best foot forward in every day, which I think I've done in, my life, I think. Because, we've always been told we've got two options. We can either, get up and go and keep going, or you can just, hold back, I think. And I think a lot of the time I've held back, certainly, in my time.
Yeah. So you said you started this during the pandemic, right? During the lockdown. You are now 31. Do you feel like you've lost like a year or two after lockdown? Because I feel like many people feel that way. Do you feel like you're over 30, or do you still feel like you're in your late 20s?
No, I definitely feel like I'm over 30, but I don't know about everybody else, but I feel a bit more confident in my 30s. Because I think, we're all kind of the same in your 20s. You're just starting out in your adult life, you're discovering things, you're finding out who you are, what you want to do. I suppose we're still doing that now, but I don't know, I kind of feel this sense of kind of me and that's it, if you know what I mean. Whereas in our 20s, we're trying to sort of figure things out, and then you do this little compare thing where you think, oh, my friend's getting married and having children, should I be doing the same? And even now, sometimes I think, oh, crikey, should I be doing what they're doing? But then there's that saying where, there's no time frame. You should work on your own time frame in your own time zone, because, if things are meant to be for you, they will come. And it doesn't matter when it comes, but it will. Um, and I think, yeah, that's the kind of era I'm at. I'm kind of thinking, well, things will come if they're meant to be, and you just got to be yourself, haven't you?
What you were saying there about like you feel like you can be yourself now that you're in your 30s, I can definitely relate to that. And looking back, I think it's so funny that in life, when we're like teenagers, we want to be adults. And then, like even in my early 20s, I wanted people to like see me as an adult, see me as an adult. And I feel like you always like playing pretend that you're older than you are. And then you hit 30 and then you kind of do the opposite.
I'm in my 20s. I want to be 40, no worries.
So yeah, it's funny. Like I feel like we're always, I feel like we're always kind of trying to be at a different time in our lives to what we're actually in some ways. But then at the same time, like you say, I think you get to a certain point where you just know yourself so well once you get into your 30s. And maybe it's just like, I don't know, I don't worry as much about what people think. I'm more happy to, completely be myself, that can be a bit weird sometimes in front of people and things like that. And maybe we don't fear judgment as much. So I love that you mentioned that. So what would you say is something that has changed for you, other than just feeling like you can be more of yourself? Is there anything else that's changed in your life since you've turned 30 or 31?
I mean, I only moved out into my own place just after I turned 30. And again, it was sort of one of those things where, you compare to other people, and, you think, oh, should I have moved out earlier? Should I have bought my property? Should I be renting, etc.? All those things. And then again, I've got to the point where, my house is rented and I love it here because it's just my own space. I've got just enough space. I'm quite a minimalist, so I live quite minimalistically, if that's a word. I don't like loads of clutter, but I'm not saying clutter is a bad thing, each to their own. Um, but again, it's that sort of thing. And sometimes I'll use social media as a thing, but sometimes when you go on social media and you see people say, oh, I'm 35, for example, I still live at home, I'm not married, I'm not, any of those things, then the amount of people that comment that are older, and they'll say, I'm 42, I still live at home, I've not got my dream career because I don't know what my dream career is. I'm quite happy just to be in the job that I'm in, and things like that. And you actually look, and there's so many people that are in a similar situation, but I think a lot of the time certain topics aren't talked about enough, I think. And I guess that goes in line with, like, I know mental health is coming forward with what we're talking about, and sexual orientation and all those things. But I think sometimes we do kind of have this little thing where we'll hold back from saying certain things or doing certain things because you think, oh, crikey, I don't think many people are in my boat. But then when you do open, yourself up, a lot of people do come in and they're like, oh, actually, I feel the same too, or, I still live at home, and all these different things. So it doesn't really matter because a lot of people, are similar. Sorry, I did have a rant there. I went on a bit of a rant there.
It's okay. It's okay. No, I mean, absolutely, exactly what you just said is what the campaign that I have going on now, the Be Timeless campaign, is about. It's all about you have your own path. Your path doesn't need to be exactly the same as someone else. We have plenty of time to achieve whatever we want to achieve. And as you said, I think it's very important to be able to have these conversations and to talk about these things. And this is why, as well, the podcast is a really good platform for this, because we will really like to reach as many people as possible with these kind of topics. So apart from obviously just moving out on your own at 30, is there any other thing that you have done maybe at a different time that someone else, or where you were like quite hesitant of doing because you were really comparing yourself to someone else?
Um, I think in general it was just sort of like everything really. You know, looking around and sort of thinking, oh crikey, should I be doing that, and things like that. And you know, yeah, there's a lot of things that I haven't done yet that a lot of people have. And a lot of people sort of do kind of know where I'm going with that one. But you know, for me, it's kind of just those sorts of things where I think, well, I used to worry about them so much when I was younger, and I used to think, oh, you know, people are going to kind of cash you out a bit if they find out, you know, about those certain topics. And then you kind of think, well, actually, why should we be fearful or what have you of judgment about certain areas? Because it doesn't really matter what other people think, even though a lot of the time we are constantly thinking, oh crikey, if you know, if people found out about X topic, you know, they're really going to judge me, etc. But really, those people, there was a traffic light system I saw the other day. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was all about like the type of people in your life. So like green will be the ones that will be there throughout your life through the good, bad, and what have you, and they will be your people. And then like amber will be like the seasoned people where they'll come and go, maybe. And then like the red will be, you know, perhaps the people that aren't really meant for you. They're kind of just there, and then you don't hear from them again. Not in like a negative way, but you know what I mean. And I think it's kind of just again just kind of understanding you people as well, and the people that do understand you, and they will have your back no matter what, you know. Yeah, and I think that comes with understanding yourself as well. You know, like what Jasmine said, you know, you're quite happy to be your complete self around others, and I bet you can be as silly as you want to be and they won't bother because they know Jasmine, you know, it's Jasmine. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that at the end of the day, as we move through life, and especially when we're in our 30s and we get older, you do realise that if anybody would judge you for any part of who you are, then they're not people that you want to surround yourself with. I think you just learn, you get to a point in your life where you think, you know what, life's too short to be spending my time on anything that doesn't make me happy. And if somebody's going to have an issue with whatever you've done in so far or not done so far in your life or whatever, then they're not somebody worth having around. And the beauty of life is that we all do things at different times. Like that is like it's your own story and everything happens your own way. So why should anybody else care? My husband's dad always says, do what you do. That's like his little saying, and I feel like it's so true. Like, as long as people aren't hurting people, people should just do what they do. Do your own thing, 100%.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've come on a real journey as well with that, in terms of how you're feeling and how that's changed over time as well. Let's talk a little bit about pageantry then. I'd love to know, I know you've been in pageantry a while, but I'd love to know a bit more about how long you've been in pageantry and if there's anything you've learned from that as well, especially as you've got older.
Yeah, I started pageantry. I signed up in 2018 to Miss Inspiration UK. unfortunately it's no longer running, which is a real shame, because it was such a lovely system. But I guess, you know, things move on. But for me, I got into pageantry because I just wanted to meet people who were on my wavelength, in terms of like hobbies and subjects that I was quite passionate about. Like I like my community work and fundraising and things, and I've done that since I was 15. So I just wanted to kind of meet other people in that kind of field, because some of my friends, obviously, it's not their sort of thing, which is fine. And then for me as well, like pageantry, I've learned so much from like other people's stories and just learning about different causes and charities and things like that that I wouldn't have learned of otherwise. Um, and obviously your skills, it's really helped my skills set, like interview, public speaking. I wouldn't have even introduced myself like 10 years ago. If you'd have asked me to on a stage, I would have been like, no thank you. Yeah, and just things like that. And I put a picture up, well, I put two pictures up. I think one was my yellow fashion wear and another one was like another outfit. And someone said to me, you know, just by seeing those pictures, I can see how much you've grown just by your presence and like how you look. And like sometimes I don't really look at it like that. But then for someone to actually say, you know, just by looking at a couple of pictures, I can see the growth from what I've already done, which is just really nice to see. Um, yeah, and definitely for me, it's definitely the friendship and all those little things that have brought me to pageantry. And to be honest, now I've got the pageant bug, I wouldn't really go back. You know, it's kind of a part of me now, which is,
Yeah.
I bet it's the same for you guys as well.
Yes. Yeah. People saying yes. Yeah, it is. So obviously you said like someone saw two pictures of like from two different pageants that you did, and they were able to see like the difference, like the confidence and the growth that you have had. Do you think as well that apart from pageantry, that ties a little bit what the with what oh my goodness, with what you had said about being 30 and feeling more confident? Do you think that when you were doing pageants before 30 and now doing pageants after 30, you also saw a difference in your confidence?
Yeah, definitely. And like for me as well, like it's only a small thing, but because I was born prematurely, I've got scars like down the sides of my body and like underneath my arms. So like during my teens, I wouldn't really even like wearing vest tops on their own. Whereas now I'm quite happy just to wear the little t-shirts and stuff. And like in my photos, you can kind of clearly see them. So I feel like a sense of self-acceptance as well, like kind of thinking, right, okay, you know, this is me, I'm going to be proud to show it, and that's it. And you know, that's also the beauty of pageants. Like, you know, we've got so many diverse, incredible ladies on stage that are just so confident in who they are, no matter who they are, you know. And I think that's just really nice to see.
Yeah, I definitely think I think you find your spaces where you can be yourself and where we find those safe spaces and those safe people where we start to feel like we can be ourselves and we're accepted for that, for being ourselves. And I think that makes a big difference to be able to make those steps, like you said, to maybe even just expose parts of yourself that you never would have before, or let people see more vulnerable parts of yourself over time as well. So if you could give a piece of advice then to somebody who has just turned 30, or just entered their 30s, or maybe they're in their 20s and they're coming up to 30, what piece of advice would you give to them for embracing being 30?
I'd definitely just say, just don't worry about turning 30. It's just a number, because a lot of people do say, oh crikey, I'm in my last year of my 20s and I'm turning 30. Oh my goodness, everything's going to change, or you know, you're getting older and things like that. But I think it's just literally going into another year and just another year of, you know, being yourself and making memories. And just, yeah, it's just about embracing it. I mean, I wasn't really that worried actually about going into my 30s. I was quite happy to go into my 30s because I kind of felt like there was a bit of a, like, moment because I was just going into my 30s as myself. Whereas your 20s, you know, it's exciting going into your 20s, but like we were saying, it's this constant figuring out who you are, what you want to do, all those sorts of things. I mean, I'm not saying that everyone's figured out by 30, 40, but you kind of feel this wave of a bit like lifted. I mean, I'm not figured
Yeah.
out at all, but I felt this kind of lifted moment where I was like, oh, yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you said, right? When we enter our 20s, it's literally when we have just finished school. We go, it's like, oh, we're adults. Now I can do all the things that I couldn't do before. I mean, here in the UK, it's a little bit different, but for us in Spain, when you enter your 20s, now you're able to drive because you cannot get your driving license until you are 18, right? So it's kind of like, oh, you're able to drive, you're able to drink, you're able to go parties, and like, you can have a curfew but maybe not that short of a curfew. So it's kind of like the freedom, like, wow, I'm free, I can do whatever I want. And then the 30s approach and everybody is like, I'm shitting my pants, oh my god, I'm gonna get in my 30s, I'm not where I was supposed to be. What am I doing? And I'm seeing a lot of girls now. This is kind of become a trend to do like this little party funeral for your 20s. It's like goodbye 20s, and then you get into your 30s. But I think that needs to change. It shouldn't be like a funeral. It needs to be kind of like a rebirth or something, because it's you
Yeah.
said, Adrian, it's kind of like liberating, right? You
Mm.
just come into your 30s, you kind of know already who you are because you've made 1,000 mistakes in your 20s, right? And it's just kind of like, oh, I'm a new woman, I'm myself, I love myself, and all of that. So I vote for a rebirth party instead of a funeral party. So obviously talking about like the 20s and things like that, and you know mistakes we've made. Is there any mistake that you've made in your 20s that has taught you a lesson for your 30s that you would like to share to maybe inspire someone that might be going through the same thing,
Um,
or a challenge?
um, I just think, I don't know. I mean, I just think in general, it's just about like, I mean, I worry a lot anyway because that's just who I am. But I think we just have these mundane worries where you get to a point where you think, oh, why was I worrying about that for? Because it's nothing. Yeah, like we were saying previous, comparing to other people's milestones, like, don't compare, and don't worry about things. And I think kind of live in the moment as well. And the fact that life's just too short, because I'm sure we're all in a similar boat where we start to lose people in our 30s, as in
Like friendships,
I
or
mean, like, I can probably say the word, death, I was going to say, if
okay,
that makes
yeah.
sense. And then, I mean, I know a lot of the time there are people that lose people when they're younger, but then I think sometimes there's certain times where people do go and you think, crikey, we do need to just make the most of it. And like, certainly when a few of my relatives have passed, you think, oh, you need to literally live in the moment, because once it's gone, you've got your memories, but sometimes we're so focused on other things that perhaps we don't live in the moment, and it's just about spending quality time with everyone around us. Again, on social media there was a really lovely video of some older grandchildren in their 20s that went to visit their grandparents, and they were like, oh, they surprised them, they said, we've come for a sleepover. And the nan and granddad were like, oh, that's brilliant, we didn't know you were coming. And again, there were so many people in the comments that were like, oh, you know, I wish I could just have those moments where I could just randomly go to my grandparents and have a sleepover, but my grandparents are gone, so I can't do that anymore. And I think for me, like, I still go around to my grandparents for sleepovers because luckily they're still here. I've still got my nan and my grandma, but I know there's going to come a time where you're sort of like, oh, I can't do that anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's just the little things, you know. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. Yeah. As a huge overthinker and worrier myself,
Yeah.
I totally I totally get like I've really I have to actively tell myself that I need to live in the moment, in the day that I'm in, because there's definitely been periods in my life where I've been so focused on the future and what could go wrong that I feel like I haven't made the most of the actual present moment that I'm in. And it's so important that we are present in our lives and that we do enjoy the moments that we have now. There's something Marie Forleo, I think she's called,
Yes.
has wrote a book called Everything's Figureoutable, if you've heard of it.
No, but I'm gonna put it on my Audible
Yeah.
and start listening to it on my walks.
Yeah, it's really good. Everything is Figureoutable is really good. I listened to the audiobook a few years ago now, but I found that such a good read, and it always comes to mind now if I'm worrying about something or if something goes wrong. I just remind myself everything's figureoutable. And you know, when you were saying about you don't feel like you've got it figured out now, you're in your 30s, but you just feel more at peace with that. I think we just learn to roll with the punches a bit more. I think we just kind of learn to trust that if something goes wrong, we'll figure it out. I feel like that everything is figureoutable thing is really relevant to that as well. And then, like you say, I think there's so many moments in life where we realise how precious life is, and it's that general thing of we're privileged to be in our 30s because not everyone gets to it.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to remember that that yeah, your 30s are a blessing. Not everyone even gets to have 30s, so we should celebrate every age in our lives as well.
Every age.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start making an effort to celebrate my birthdays better then moving forward. I like what you just said. That's true.
Yeah.
My birthday is next week.
Yeah. And I think like as well, like you know, you were saying that we worry about the future, which we do, and we worry about like the past as well, but you know, like things that have happened and things that have gone on. But I think, you know, it's again, we've just got to kind of, you know, just move forward and embrace, like, you know, like you were saying, like the present. You know, we can't change the past and we can't go into the future. We've just got to go into the little present, if you like. Which is something that I'm kind of starting to do. But yeah, I'm the same. I worry about so many things, and then people are like, but Monday's gone, you know, it's now Tuesday. I'm like, yeah, but I'm still thinking about Monday. They're like, but Monday's gone, it's Tuesday now. Let's just move forward, it's Tuesday. You know, but I'm that type of person. I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, but then, yeah. And I think like, obviously we've got to cherish like everyone around us. And yeah, I just thought, with the grandparents one, I just thought it was so lovely that like the grown-up children just went round for a sleepover, and stuff like that. Because I still go for sleepovers. I love sleepovers. I was gonna say something else, but I really can't remember what it was now. Because you were on about your birthday. That was it. You're on about your birthday, and I was thinking about birthdays. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I still have a birthday week or a birthday month. Like, even though I'm older, I'm like, yeah, my birthday's like the whole month. I'm just gonna treat myself for the whole month. Because the thing about adulting is it's a strange one, isn't it? Because I don't know about you ladies, but I don't feel like an adult. I don't act like one a lot of the time. I'm still like, Dad, Mom, Dad, what do I do with this? They're like, how do you not know that? I'm like, but I don't know. I'm like, it's just easy to ring you. Just easy to ring you to ask how you change a bulb or whatever. You know.
Google it or YouTube it.
Yeah. You know, and people are like, oh, we talk about being an adult, like, that we've got to be like really grown up and really, mature and sensible. But I just don't feel any of those things. Like, I just think it's that feeling, isn't it? Like, I don't know what being an adult feels like. I don't know what being in my 30s feels like. It's just, it just is what it is. Like, there's no kind of, you know.
Is it because we are millennials and we are a different breed and we will be young forever?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I honestly feel like I don't feel like I've ever aged. Like I'm raising a child. Like my nearly 3-year-olds are sleeping in the room, and I'm raising this child, and I don't feel like an adult. I mean, but then I've always thought now, like, maybe my parents never did. Maybe we just never do, or maybe it's just like really later in life, all of a sudden we think like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing now. But everybody I speak to at every single milestone, I say to them, do you feel different now that milestone's happened? And the answer is always no. I've never met anybody who tells me they feel like older or changed when like they get to a certain age or become a parent or whatever.
I feel we're gonna go from like feeling super young and still like, oh yeah, I'm young, I can do this, I can dress like this or whatever, to like suddenly being like white hair and like a little walker or something.
We're going into all the pageant finals. We won't feel any different on the inside. We might look a little bit different. Rhinestoned little things that what are they called?
I'm all for it.
Like a rhinestone, like, I was gonna say Zimmer frame, like,
Like a walker.
yeah.
Yes, Zimmer frame, walking stick, whatever. Rhinestone little pull along bags to our shopping.
Yeah.
I love the pull along bags.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Wait, I was gonna ask a question, I forgot. Oh yeah, so you said that you were born prematurely. How early were you
So I
born?
was 25 weeks. So, um, if I do my maths correctly, about 3 months. Yeah, if I do my maths correctly. Now,
Wow.
obviously, back in the 90s, it was kind of like 50-50 chance of
Mhm.
survival. It was either yes or no. And again, like, we've come such a long way with like medicine and everything. I think it's incredible. But yeah, like, I made a bit of history in the museum, in the Natural History Museum, because I was the first person to try the iron lung in the UK at the time. It's not there now because they
Oh.
obviously update it when medicine updates. But yeah, I had a little spot in the museum with the photos and things with how it was completed, if that makes sense. Yeah, and again, like, my parents were told about my milestones that I might not hit them, give you the worst case scenario. But, again, you just have resilience, don't we, as humans? And, I'm quite happy that I've got myself to, the point that I am now, if that makes sense. Because yeah, you just
Yeah.
have to,
And you've been fighting since
yeah,
25 weeks. That's incredible.
yeah. Um, uh, I think my dad said it was a bag of sugar I weighed, so like a small bag, small bag.
Wow.
Yeah, £1.6. So that was how small I was. And like even now, like there's even smaller, isn't there? I think there was a little boy in America, and I think he weighed the same as an apple. I think they were saying like he weighed an apple. Yeah, like just under. Was it just over? I can't remember. I think it was just under a kilogram. I think. But yeah, it's just amazing like how they can do all this medicine to survive. Yeah. And like I look back on all my photos, and um, there was the little snapshot ones, and they wrote on the bottom of the weight and things and what time I was born and how long I was and stuff like that. Um, but I was on a ventilator for quite a while because I was in hospital for quite a while. And then obviously I couldn't like feed myself and stuff. When I was tube fed for a while. But I think because of how underdeveloped my lungs and things were, that's why like my voice is a bit high pitched and squeaky. Which yeah, everyone always notices my voice like straight away if I'm in a queue and like someone that I know is behind me or something. They're like, I thought it was you. I could hear you. I'm like, yeah, thanks. Can hear me. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. So. And the way I think of it is, you know, at least I've got a voice that I can use. Like when I was younger, like public speaking for me was just like my worst nightmare. Like sometimes I'd get, if you have to do like a school play or something and you have to read lines, you think, oh, and then you get up there and you think, oh, I've got to read these lines. Like I'm just more worried about my voice than I am anything else. But then now when I think about it, the way I see it is at least I've got a voice I can use for like others. You know, and even people that perhaps, you know, aren't verbal, they're still out there, you know, channeling what they're passionate about, which is just amazing. Yeah.
It's funny because there's all these things. You know, you said you used to worry about your voice if you had to speak or whatever, but I actually think you have a lovely voice. It's so funny how there's things that we think about ourselves that we really build up in our own heads and that we worry about, or that we don't want people to, you know, like you're nervous about people hearing your voice or whatever it might be. But I never would have thought that about your voice. I think it's so, things can be so different for us internally as to how other people will actually perceive them. And if people can hear you and know it's you from like the other room or whatever, that's great. You tell them you're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, like because sometimes like I don't know, if I was in like a queue or something and like I don't know, if you're like, you know, like if you're in town and you're in a queue and then someone that you know turns up and they're like, well, I thought it was you because I could hear you, you know, I can hear your voice. You know, I knew it was you. I'm like, yeah, me. It's me. Yeah.
So
Should we go to like oh, do you have a question? Go
I was
ahead.
about to say, should we go to the
Oh.
final questions? And I thought you would have them, so I was going to ask you to read them.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about like maybe doing like a fun one, like a rapid fire question where you have to like answer
Yeah.
quickly. Are you up for that?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, you said like you read more magazines than books. So maybe what's the last magazine that you read and that you liked the most?
Prima. I like Prima. Because obviously it's been going since like the 80s and it's still got the knitting patterns in. I know it's still got the knitting patterns in. But I love it because it's such an uplifting magazine. Like they do so many features on inspirational individuals and sharing their stories and just getting like health tips and stuff. Sometimes you read the health tips and you think, cracky, I'm supposed to be doing that. I didn't realise that, you know, just all the health tips. Whereas some magazines, you know, they're great, but a lot of the stories, it's quite, you know, they're quite negative and quite deep. And, you know, I just like Prima so much because it's just such a positive magazine and an uplifting magazine. And that's what I live for. Each month, Prima magazine is out on whatever date
Good.
it's out.
That's awesome.
So we need to get you then in Prima magazine in the Inspiring
Yeah.
Women section. That can be your goal for this
Thank
year.
you. I have tried previous. I did write to the editor a few times, and she was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, but we've got all the stories we need for this month." I'm like, "Oh, that's great, thank you, no problem."
Well, keep going.
Yeah.
Keep
We want to make a call for the Prima magazine editor to be able to introduce Adrienne Robinson in the magazine in the Inspired Women section. Please, Prima magazine, contact the podcast if you don't have her address. We'll give you her email address or contact her directly. Thank you. Okay, coffee or tea?
coffee.
Coffee. Let me see. Oh, summer or winter?
Summer.
Okay. I know, like, I hope that everybody chooses summer, but I'm pretty sure there is people that choose winter. They prefer like cozy time. And last one, what app on your phone do you use the most?
Ooh, Instagram. Terrible for Instagram. Sometimes I could be in the morning watching the news, eating my breakfast, and scrolling Instagram at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, guilty of that. Because then we also have like another section called the Over 30 Wisdom Vault, but I think we've answered those questions during the interviews. Perfect. Is there anything though, Adrian, that we have not touched base that you want to talk about in the podcast?
I don't think so. I just think in general, like it's just nice just to have, such supportive people out there. Certainly when I joined the pageant community, like I've met so many people that have just been so supportive and, things like that. So just really a thank you, really, for people's ongoing support. And, if there is anything anybody wants to do or anything, just give me a message. I don't mind. A couple of my pageant friends that live close by, we always send each other like so many things to go to, and then we have to like pick like which ones we're going to. And sometimes it's just not always possible. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for like, people's support over the last 5 years. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. And then where can people find you if they want to follow your your platform like Fierce Foot Forward or yourself?
So at the moment I've only got one Instagram. So it's Adrian820. And then I do have like a pageant Facebook page. It's just my pageant journey one. And that's it.
And I have just realized that I've been pronouncing your name wrong. I've been saying Adrian and it's Adriane.
It's okay. Yeah, it's Adrian. It's fine. It's okay.
Next time I'm going to ask people to tell me their names before we
It's
start
okay.
recording so I know how to pronounce.
They'll think it was your accent. It's fine.
We'll go with that. We'll go with that. I'm a Spanish people, sorry. I'm not good at names or pronouncing or talking fast. You've saw it a couple of times that my tongue got twisted. Like,
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I feel like we've had such a lovely discussion and so many interesting topics that are really like food for thought for people, just to consider, and a lot of like mindset things about how we can think a little bit differently and act a little bit differently in our 30s as well. So thank you so much, and thank you for everybody that's listening, and we'll see you again very, very soon.
bye.